Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Business and Beyond, the podcast where we highlight local businesses and learn from their successes. My name is Brian Braga. I am your host. And today we are joined by Jayden Kuzdak, who does dog boarding as a side hustle and is the owner of Jayden the Dog Dude brand. Jayden, thank you so much for being on the show today. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being here. What inspired you to start a side hustle as a dog boarder?
First of all, the availability. I work from home. So when I started a new job where I had that availability, I thought, what else can I do with my time? It's great not having to be able to commute. I have a decently sized space. We live in a townhouse and I have the room for it. And also I grew up with dogs. I have an affinity towards dogs. And people know I'm dating your sister.
They do now.
You guys didn't grow up with dogs, and when I said to your sister that I wanted to get one, she wasn't sure that she was totally ready for one yet. And Rover was a really good opportunity for us to experiment with dogs, for me to introduce different breeds to her so that she was familiar with what she wanted, and then also for us to understand the responsibilities of taking care of a dog. Yeah, that's it. But honestly, it's just my passion for dogs. I love them. It's great having an option to just switch your brain off.
Yeah.
Right? Especially if I work as an infrastructure engineer, and my brain is constantly racing. So having the dogs as well, being able to go into dog brain mode is a really nice relief.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Really quickly, do you prefer like dog boarder or like dog sitter, or like what's the best terminology to use here?
It's a mix up. Like I do dog daycare, right? So someone can just drop the dog off for the day.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's boarding. It's not typical boarding. People say boarding, they're usually referring to country property where there's multiple, like upwards of 5 dogs on the property. Yeah, this is more like dog cares, how I classify it. Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Whatever you want to call it.
All right, I have dog boarding written everywhere, but dog boarding just sounds weird to keep saying, so that's why I thought I'd ask. What are the biggest challenges you'd say you faced in running a dog boarding business?
Filtering out not necessarily bad dogs, but bad dog owners. Whenever I meet a dog, I love all dogs, but I've learned the hard way that I have to be quite careful about who I'm working with, whose dog I'm caring for, because some people don't train their dogs well. They're not house trained, so you get accidents in the house. Maybe they destroy stuff. So having to say no, I would say that's the biggest challenge, is saying no to people.
Yeah. Have you had to fire a couple dog owners?
There are people who I wouldn't watch their dogs again. That's difficult to tell people, to say, like in the future, I don't think this is going to work. There's A, B, and C that you need to work on with your dog before I'd be willing to watch them again. But there's only one time where I had an issue where I told the people during the stay that maybe they should find somebody else to come and watch the dog in the interim. Mostly because the dog's welfare was challenged. It was just an overly anxious dog. It was difficult to care for it. And I just wasn't the right fit for that dog. But it was because the owners didn't give me the full truth about what their dog's needs were. So that was it. I've never really had to tell anybody, I'll never watch your dog again. Your dog sucks. Nothing like that. Just being more careful about who I watch in the future. Maybe I just won't watch that dog again. It's not worth my time.
Yeah, that's fair. And I know you mentioned earlier that you used Rover as your dog pet care platform. How did you discover Rover in the first place? And for the audience who doesn't know, what exactly is Rover? That jingling
Rover
is a dog he's watching. Quick side note.
Yeah. Let's get him introduced. Finn, this is the joys of doing this. Let's see if Finn will let me pick him up. No, I don't know if he will. This is my first time with Finn. He's only been here for, an hour. Nice. He's a real sweetheart, but I'm careful about testing dogs' boundaries until they're fully trusting of me. So even a dog that is not totally familiar to me, I wouldn't just pick up because maybe they don't like it. Maybe I get bit in the face, and then they don't trust me, and the jingle is Finn.
Nice.
Rover is an app and a website, and it's similar to Airbnb in terms of the prompts. You say what dates you're looking for boarding, your location, and ideal proximity. And then you can go through a list of relevant sitters or boarders and go from there. Communicate with them through the app, set up the payment, and then Rover also provides insurance to owners and the dog boarders so that if anything happens to them, I take them to the vet right away. They're covered. If anything happens to someone else because of like a third party, because of something that happens with the dog, maybe they get into a fight at the dog park or they bite a person, they provide liability insurance. Yeah.
Nice.
So Rover, I got introduced to Rover. I really can't remember how I learned about the app, but I started in 2023. February was the first dog that I watched. Yeah, and since then I've continued to use Rover. That's how I got this guy, but I also have two other ways of getting clients. One is just word of mouth. I have private boarding insurance as well. So same thing as the Rover insurance. If anything happens to the dogs, I get to take them to the vet. They're covered. Owners don't have to worry about me putting up a fuss or, that really awkward situation of, hey, who's paying for this dog bill? It's the last thing that you want to think about. So Rover, word of mouth, friends and family. And the third is I'm a subcontractor for another dog walking business in the Waterloo region. I happened to meet the owner while I was walking some of my dogs in a local park. She was attached at the hip to 6 dogs that she was walking.
Nice.
And she offers boarding to her dog walking clients. But just to take some pressure off of her, she sends some of them my way. So I get that fairly regularly as well.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't realize you had so many
with owners.
Yeah, I didn't realize you had so many streams there. That's awesome.
It helps. It helps to have a continuous flow because then I can be more picky about who I'm watching, but still get enough business.
Yeah, that's fair. How do you ensure that your services stand out on platforms like Rover or like when you're getting word of mouth referrals?
Rover is great. I definitely get the most hits or the most requests for services through Rover. There's opportunities to edit your account and tailor it so that people see what you're capable of. I think the one thing that I've noticed has made me stand out, and this is based on client feedback, is I've mentioned that I'm active, that I'm an active person. I like hikes. I like long walks. I like going to visit all the conservation areas in the region. And people seem to really like that. If people have high energy dogs or athletic breeds, that stands out. And then honestly, because I've been doing it for a long time now, I've had a lot of repeat clients on Rover, a lot of really great reviews. I have 5 stars, 29 reviews that are outstanding. That has definitely helped a lot. And other than that, I really don't focus too much on marketing myself. I do have an Instagram page, Jayden the Dog Dude. Your sister helped me set up.
Nice.
And just posting pictures of the dogs, making sure that clients are really comfortable or really confident that I'm providing their dogs good care. Yeah.
Sweet. How did you end up getting that very first client? Because I know, especially in a service-based industry, getting that first client when you have no reviews, no stars is a bit difficult. Did you do anything special or make yourself stand out in a certain way, or was it just luck of the draw? Someone requested you one day, or how did you get that very first client?
Yeah. So at the start, you do have to be realistic about your prices. I forgot to mention that on Rover, it's up to you how you set your prices. obviously you can see what other sitters are charging and adjust accordingly. Right now I charge $55 a night, but when I started, it's $45. Some increase that is attributable to just inflation. I have to increase the prices over time, but also I'm more confident in what I'm able to provide. So at the start, I'd be more realistic and say, okay, I can't charge people $75 a night, or 25% more than the going rate. So it was a little bit lower. But fortunately, when you're a new sitter, Rover actually bumps your search result score so that you appear higher up in the dog owner's search review.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it was pretty quick. I think it was within the first 24 hours of me having my account that I got that first request.
Nice.
And the way that it typically works is someone will reach out, organize a meet and greet, make sure that it's not vicious dog, that the bare minimums of care requirements are set. Like, hey, is your dog house trained? Is your dog absolutely terrified of people? No? Okay, good. And is your dog aggressive? No? Okay, good. So yeah, I did the meet and greet, and that's how I got my first client.
Nice. How do you build trust with pet owners, especially when they're leaving their dogs in your care for the very first time?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because a lot of people see their dogs as their kids.
Yeah.
Typically, when I speak to people, it's either their first time using Rover, or they've had a bad experience in the past. Usually, people are used to having friends and family watch their dogs, and something's changed that pushes them to Rover. So yeah, they're a little bit uneasy. I'd say just talking to them like a person, not making it seem like this is a business.
Yeah.
As much as it is, I make money from this. It's you could call it a side hustle. I really do it out of passion and love for the dogs. So it's good for both of us. But I would say that really making it clear that I'm interested in the dogs, showing the dogs lots of affection when I first meet them. Now, when I do meet and greets, I'm always inviting people to our house, meet at our house, so that they know. I mean, they're gonna have to drop the dogs here eventually, so they know that we're not psychos.
Yeah, nice.
Right? That we have a clean house, that it's safe for their dogs. I think those are the big things.
Yeah.
Just making sure that it's safe and that I'm not an absolute
tyrant. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Are the meet and greets something that's like recommended by Rover? Or is that something that you just do as an additional step to ensure some good care for the pets?
Yeah. It's not required on Rover, but it is an option. I'm not quite sure how to refer to it, but there's a prompt when you start engaging with a client, when they first reach out, and then you have when you're messaging with them, Rover does prompt you to organize a meet and greet. Yeah, I would say it's almost common sense. Like, you want to meet the dog before you commit to watching them. In some instances, and it's very rare, I would say 95% of the time I have meet and greets. The remaining 5% of the time is if it's word of mouth and I know the people. So, for example, on the weekend, we had Thanksgiving at your parents' house, and the two dogs that I watched on the weekend that actually came with us to your parents' house were from your sister's coworkers.
Yeah.
And in that case, we have confidence that the dogs are good. We didn't need to do a meet and greet. And then yesterday, I watched a dog whose owner reached out half an hour before they needed
nice.
Sitting.
Yeah.
In most cases, I would absolutely say no to something like that. Someone who's reaching out that with that short notice. But on Rover, it does show whether or not the dog has been watched before on the app, and it shows other sitters' feedback on the dog. So this dog had like 4 or 5 different sitters that gave feedback. She was a good dog. It gives me a lot more confidence.
Yeah. And was she a good dog?
She was. It was definitely clear that she was a high energy dog, but that she was well behaved, good temperament, like people. Just needed a little bit of stimulation to keep her cool.
Yeah,
A
fair
little
enough.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was a handful.
Nice. And what are some
Yeah.
common misconceptions people have about hiring a dog boarder, and how do you normally address them?
I don't know if anybody's had any misconceptions. I've never had any clients that come to me and they have some expectations that are not aligned with what I provide. I would say from the outside, not necessarily with respect to the people that I deal with, the clients and the dogs or friends and family. From an outside perspective, I think people look at Rover sitters specifically as people who are looking for a part-time gig.
Mm.
And in some cases, in my case, that's a misconception because as much as I do make money doing this, I could make more money doing something else. I
That's
could go
fair.
work as a server.
Yeah.
I could do anything. I choose this because I really like dogs.
Yeah, that's fair.
I have met people, other sitters, who are very money motivated, and they think of Rover sitting as like really easy gig to make some extra money. Hey, I got the space, I got the time. Let me just watch some people's dogs. So in that case, I would say the misconception is not from clients; it's actually from other dog owners. Or sorry, dog boarders.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
Nice. And what are some key skills someone should possess if they want to succeed in the pet care industry?
Can't speak to the whole pet care industry, but with regards to boarding, I really think you need a lot of experience with dogs. I mean, sure, you can gather that experience over time. If you're new to dogs and you're looking to get into Rover, I would recommend really being strict about which dogs you're watching. I would say take on older dogs that you know are going to be relaxed and are going to be easy. Don't take on anything big that's going to, a risk to yourself or other dogs or other people. You need to be attuned to them, I would say. It's not some magical skill that you develop over time. It's paying attention to the behavior. Maybe you've watched the dog whisperer growing up on television. These things help. Just having more exposure to dog behavior, to dog training, and being confident. You really can't have anxiety about the situation. It's a little bit weird at first because you think, wow, someone's trusting me with their baby. This is what it feels like. We have to be confident that you'll take care of them. And the dogs, I think, notice when you're confident.
Yeah.
And they develop trust in you a lot faster. Like this guy I met today, and he's sleeping on my lap, but I think I just give off that confidence.
Yeah, that's fair.
As a leader, I guess you could say. I don't want to say alpha, alpha male pack leader, but it is that, right? You have to be confident around dogs. And if you're not sure about dog behavior, then I would say it's actually quite risky because yourself, you can get hurt. For example, I'm not picking this guy up to show you because I don't know him well enough to know if he's going to react to that.
Yeah.
I don't want to get bit in the face. If I'm walking a dog, I usually don't let them interact with other pedestrians and their dogs because it's just too much of a risk. Right? And I can see some behaviors. Other dogs get tense. You see their eyes get wide, their tails get stiff, and in that case the dog's nervous and might get aggressive. Yeah. Biggest recommendations for people getting into this is make sure that you are confident with dogs. And you have lots of experience with them.
Be the big dog.
That's it. What's that?
Be the big dog.
Yeah, you got to be the big
Yeah,
dog.
you got to be the big dog.
You have to have that dog in you.
Yeah. The first step. Key skill, have that dog in you.
Yeah, you need it, man. You need a little bit of that dog brain, honestly. Yeah, you got that dog in you, but also you need to, I don't know, like I said, I get into dog brain mode sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? You get down on the floor and start playing with them and making your noises at them. But knowing when to stop playing because maybe they're done. They're not comfortable playing anymore. Knowing which areas are sensitive to them. I would never just go and grab a dog and start petting their belly if I've never met them before.
Yeah.
Because some dogs get sensitive about that stuff and then you get bit. Yeah.
Have you had any dogs that just never warmed up or haven't gotten comfortable? Like, does it take them a while? Or is it like, honestly, because this guy, like Finn, is very chill after an hour. Like, is it normally like an hour and then they're good to go? Or like, how long does it take for a dog to settle?
95% of the time it's within the first hour. Especially if they've already been to my house for the meet and greet. and they come with their owner, I'd say the first hour is usually like them looking at the door, like, yo, are you coming back?
Yeah.
Thinking about their owner. And then, yeah, I'd say about an hour. I like to give dogs lots of space at first. I don't rush into them and go, love me, love me, love me. So that helps giving them space.
Nice.
Making sure that they know that they're safe, right? That they got water, they got food. Usually I give them a treat right away. So yeah, that helps.
Nice.
I have had one dog, and that was the owner that I mentioned. I told him during the stay, like, hey, I really think you should have someone else come and watch your dog for the dog's well-being. That dog never warmed up to me. That dog was absolutely terrified of people. When I met the dog, there was some timidness, but I think because the owners were with her, she was comfortable enough to let me pet her. But then when the owners left after dropping her off, it was a completely different dog, just absolutely terrified of people. Yeah, it was a bad situation.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. After doing this for like a year and a half or like however long you've been at it now, do you have any breeds that are blacklisted? Like any breed that you refuse to have in the future?
I don't know how many pit bull lover listeners you have on this podcast, but I would say, yeah, pit bulls, any other big guard dog breeds, just too much of a risk, right? Like, I'm comfortable handling them, but I also have to consider that I have a female living in the house with me.
Yeah.
And she's not as attuned to the dog behavior, so having a really big dog that's capable of doing damage, it's just not something that I'm willing to take on.
Yeah.
Unless I know the dogs beforehand and I know what their temperament is like. So yeah, I would say pit bulls. I've had issues at dog parks before with pit bulls. Never really any other breeds. What else? I'm trying to think. I prefer medium-sized up. Extra small dogs, I'm usually not a fan of. It's not a breed blacklist. It's mostly an owner blacklist.
Oh, okay.
I find that owners of the small dogs, yeah, they tend to be untrained, and I find that people who want really small teacup-sized dogs, what they really want is a cat.
Yeah, nice.
And they end up treating their dogs like cats, which means sometimes like the dogs are used to peeing inside the house, not just like on the floor, but on a pee pad or something like that, which to me is, I don't get that. That's not how a dog's meant to live. So, yeah, I would say in that case, small dog breeds and really big guard dog type breeds.
Yeah. Do you have any breeds that you've grown to love, or any like surprising breed that like, I don't know, you maybe wouldn't have considered having in the future before that now you really like?
Yeah. When I first started, I really wanted to get a hunting breed, like a German short-haired pointer. They're just beautiful dogs. I've met a few before. When they're puppies, fucking adorable. But I've watched a few, and they're too much energy. Like,
really?
Hunting breeds are way too much energy. You need space for it. You need opportunity to let the dog off leash and just go buck wild. So that was a no-no. I'm glad that I did Rover for that reason, because you get a dog, you're stuck with them for their entire life, and hey, sometimes they're not a good fit, and that means that the dog becomes a burden, and then you can't take care of the dog. You can't give the dog the best life that it could if now you're viewing it as a burden.
Yeah, fair.
You know about Rita.
I do.
Rita's my favorite dog that I've watched. I am partial, right? Like, people, I do have favorites, and this was a little terrier mix that was just super obedient, extremely well trained, loyal like no other. I don't know if that's breed specific, but now I'm kind of interested in a little terrier breed. Yeah, that's it.
Right. And then for Rover, since you've been on there, how does the pricing segment work on Rover itself?
Yeah. I mentioned you can set your own prices and you can select services. So on Rover, you can set whether you're active on dog boarding, which is overnight stays, doggy daycare, which is what they call it, just daytime visit, so the dog doesn't come overnight, in-home stays, meaning that I would go to the owner's house and stay there with the dog while they're away, or dog walking, which is I go to their house, let the dog out for a walk, and bring them back in. The only service that I really do is dog boarding. It's rare that I get doggy daycare, which is just daytime visits, and I never get any dog walking requests. I don't know why. I've never got any. Maybe people are not interested in it. Or maybe because I don't have any experience doing it. I'm not sure. I really don't know. But for each of those, you get to set your own prices. You get to set holiday rates. And then you can change your prices depending on the client. So if I like a client, if I find that their dog is really easy to watch, then I can lower the price. I charge $55 a night as my standard rate. And part of the reason why I'm so picky about the dogs that I watch now is because $55 a night is not a lot to take on considerable risk of a dog damaging your house, hurting you, or just being a lot to deal with. So it's just not worth the effort, right? So
yeah.
I prefer to go with dogs that at a minimum are good walkers. I could take your dog for like 2 hours of walking a day if they are good on the leash, because I like walking. I can drive them over to a dog park if they're friendly with other dogs and you're comfortable with it. So yeah, I charge $55 a night. Rover does take a 20% cut, which is a decent amount, and that goes obviously towards their operating costs and the insurance that they provide to us. So it's a decent amount. It's not great. It's like for the $55 a night that I charge, I only see $45 of that. The owners are given an option to leave me a tip afterwards, up to 20%. So like reimbursing me the amount that Rover takes. So, and that was another reason why I decided to look into private boarding insurance, is because I didn't want to always direct people, friends and family, towards Rover for the care. One, because the reason I'm directing friends and family to use Rover in the first place is just the insurance. Right? Like, even if they're friends and family, even if you have a trust between these people, it can become a messy situation if something happens to the dog and now you're debating who's responsible for incurring those costs. A lot of people are common sense, they're reasonable about it. But anyway, so my number one priority is make sure that there's some insurance, that I'm protected, that the dogs are protected, that the owners are protected. But I pursued private boarding insurance because saved me that 20% cut. I only pay about $50 a month for the insurance that I have, which is, it's not that much in the grand scheme of things. And if I'm able to get at least like 5 days a month of private boarding with a client, it covers my insurance costs. Yeah, so that's how the Rover pricing works. There's a lot of sitters that, I'd say the floor is $45 per night for sitters, and then I've seen some people charge $120 a night.
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't know what those people are doing. They're giving like spa treatments to the dogs while they're there, but I think I do a pretty good job. I would say I'm top tier dog sitter. So I'll take the dogs with me anywhere. They get lots of affection. Every day they go out for multiple walks. I take them to dog parks or conservation areas. If I go to visit a friend, they come with me to a friend's house. So I treat them like they're my own dog.
Yeah. And how often do you actually have a dog with you? Like any given months, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, less, more?
It fluctuates throughout the year. I would say during the summer, the beginning of the summer, I was actually fairly busy. Past couple of weeks, like September, October, not that busy. I anticipate November, also not that busy. People come home from summer vacation. They tend to be at work all the time, not taking so much time off. They don't need the sitting. But then during the holiday season, Christmas, I get a lot of requests. And then in late winter months, when people are like, I'm fed up with the Canadian winter, I'm fed up with the snow, I gotta get away, I usually get a lot of requests then. So this year, if I were to average it out, I would say that I have dogs 50% of the time.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sweet. And if you're comfortable with sharing, how much have you actually made so far? How much would you say you bring in per year from your dog sitting business?
If I were to guess what I'd make at year end for 2024, probably in the order of $12,000.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I had one client who was traveling quite a bit this year. She had 2 dogs, so I gave her a discount because I love the dogs. They're great, but both dogs together, are charging $70 a night, and I watched them for 2 months straight
Yeah.
in March and April. So that was a lot of revenue. And then with all the other odd dogs, like yesterday, I watched a dog. It's only $50 a day. They're $55 for the day. Not a lot. So yeah, I would say about $12,000 at year end.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's a good amount to do. So
it's great when you work from home. You have the availability. You love the dogs. It doesn't seem like much every night. $55 a night. Wow, it's not that much. If I could go work a shift at a bar and make $200 a night, doesn't seem like a lot, but it's also not that much work.
yeah.
Doesn't feel like work, at least, and it adds up over time. So yeah, I'd say 12,000 is. I'm happy with that
Yeah, nice. That's
as a
a solid amount.
part-time. Yeah,
Nice. Sweet. Well, thank you very much for your time today. If
no
anyone wants
problem.
to find Jayden, he mentioned find him on Instagram at Jayden the Dog Dude. And then thank you so much for listening to Business and Beyond, folks. Catch us every 2 weeks on Thursdays, and we'll see you at the next one.